Welcome to the 2015 series of recordings on HealthOne version 7.5. If you want to know what version of HealthOne you have, you should click on Help and About, and the version number here is 7.5. This number at the end isn't too important. If you don't have 7.5, you won't be able to enjoy these features. Today I'm talking again about the pregnancy module in HealthOne. I'm going to open a patient's file. This patient is actually pregnant. I know that because I can see the pregnancy grid on the left is to the front, and this line here is her last pregnancy, and it says she's 30 weeks pregnant. This is the pregnancy tab, which is to the fore if the patient is pregnant. So HealthOne is telling me that this patient has had 7 pregnancies recorded. She may have had other pregnancies that haven't been recorded in HealthOne. This pregnancy is the pregnancy I'm interested in, and I want to do a new antenatal on her. The actual antenatal itself is dealt with in another video. What I'm dealing with here is linking existing transactions done with the old system to this pregnancy so that I can carry out various new functions. In order to link the transactions that have already been done for the pregnancy here, I have to right click on the pregnancy in the grid and click on the bottom item here, link all transactions related to this pregnancy. So that's right click on the pregnancy you're interested in and click on link all transactions. HealthOne has linked 9 different transactions to this pregnancy. As you can see, they're all in bold here. This means that HealthOne has changed all these transactions. My first job is to make sure that HealthOne has picked the right transactions to link to this pregnancy, and I click on the first transaction that HealthOne has found, and I note that it is in fact the first antenatal transaction for this particular pregnancy, and all the subsequent transactions are linked to this pregnancy. I'm now going to save all of these transactions. The way to do that is to click on File and Save HCR. The reason I'm doing this is that I want all these transactions to be saved, and I want to stay in the patient file. I could have saved them one by simply hitting Ctrl S or leaving the patient file and reopening it. But I don't want to leave the file, so I can click on Save HCR or Alt F10. All of these transactions will now be saved. So this is the same message as I'd get if I was leaving the HCR, but in this case I'll click on Yes and I don't leave the HCR. All these transactions now have been linked to the current pregnancy. So what's the point of doing this? Well, there are several reasons. One is that unless you have linked the transactions to the pregnancy, you won't be able to use some of the new features, such as the Filter Transaction button. This displays all the transactions linked to the highlighted pregnancy. And here you have a list of these transactions that are linked to this pregnancy. Likewise, I could click on the second last pregnancy and you see there are no transactions linked to this pregnancy. The basic medical transaction here always comes up no matter what your filter is. So if I filter on any of these pregnancies here, you see that there are no transactions linked to them. That doesn't matter so much, but what really does matter is the first in the list, which is the last pregnancy. I'm going to click on Filter Transaction again to get rid of this filter. The second feature that's useful is that you have another button here, Display all the data linked to a particular pregnancy. If I click on this button, I get a list of all the relevant, important pieces of information such as the weight, blood pressure, urine and hemoglobin for this pregnancy only. So I click on Close there, and that is one of the reasons I need to link the pregnancy. Another reason is that if I want to do some administrative data, such as do a HSE maternity claim, HealthOne will need to have the details of the pregnancy, and I will not be able to do this unless I have linked the transactions. A third reason would be I have a new set of population analysis over here. These are built-in analyses. If I click on this button, and I have a new set of analysis here called pregnancy. If I want to get a list of all pregnant patients, a list of pregnant patients without maternity number, etc., etc., I can only do this if HealthOne has an idea that the transactions are linked. If you have a new pregnancy, there's no problem. They will all be linked if you're using the new system. I'm only talking here about linking transactions that have been done in the past, and that will be common when you start off especially. I'm now going to show you this again by clicking on the second last pregnancy and right-clicking on it and linking all transactions related to this pregnancy. HealthOne finds 13 linked transactions. I click on OK. You can see that HealthOne has changed 13 transactions, and therefore they're in bold, which makes it quite easy for me to check them out. So I'll always go to the first transaction that HealthOne has found, and I'll just check that it has got it right, and it has in this case. However, I notice that in this case here, there's an expert's report which HealthOne has not linked, and when I look at it, I notice it's about the pregnancy. So I'm saying this should have been linked. So I will right-click on the transaction and click Link to Current Pregnancy. So I add that to my list. If I go down to the end, you see that there are some consultations here that are not apparently linked and shouldn't be linked, so I will leave them unlinked. It has found 2 here, the 6-week check, and in fact a maternity claim sent in, and that's all correct. However, I do notice that there is another transaction here on the 19th of the 8th, which HealthOne has not linked to this particular pregnancy, and it's a payment for the pregnancy, so I know that it is linked to the pregnancy. The reason HealthOne didn't find it is that it's more than 6 months after the delivery of the baby. If I right-click, however, on this transaction, I can manually link it by clicking Link to Current Pregnancy. And HealthOne tells me the date of the transaction is 19th of the 8th, which is more than 6 months from the due date, and it's saying, are you sure you really want to do this, because it seems to be a long time away from the pregnancy. In fact, I do want to link this transaction. So I now got all these transactions linked. So I'm going to save these again and stay in the file. I could just leave the file and they'd all be saved. But I want to re-demonstrate this Alt F10 feature, which is to save all transactions that haven't been validated, validate them, and keep the file open. Now I have a situation whereby with this pregnancy I can just highlight the pregnancy here and click on the filter, and I've got all the pregnancy transactions relating to this particular pregnancy. And like the last pregnancy, I can click on display all the data linked to this pregnancy, and you can see I have a different set of data here, but it remains the weight, urine, hemoglobin and blood pressure, but only that data related to the pregnancy. While I'm on this screen, I'm going to show you some more about it. All I'm showing you here is the basic information. I could click on all fields and get the whole list of items in the sequence. I could also filter on this, for example, urine, just to bring up the urine fields. I could also get a tree view of this, and just again it has been filtered on urine, and a tree view is just a different view of it. So there's a lot of stuff there, data that I can view easily once the transactions are linked. I want to repeat again that I'm only showing you this video as it is relevant to pregnancies that have been entered into the patient file before you upgrade it to this version. And that is the end of this video. Thank you very much.